Hello and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to start a prominent Indian philosophy, which is the Jain philosophy. So, the Jains, as we have seen from our day-to-day experience and interaction with them, is a very niche kind of philosophy and has certain customs and certain opinions related with them. Without having disregarding all the preconceived notions which we have of these Jain philosophy, we would try to gather all the knowledge in this document with an open mind. So let's get started. First of all, Jain philosophy is said to be realistic and relativistic pluralism because it accepts that there are many realities. There are different realities of the same element as well. The metaphysics for Jain is considered to be as the Anekantavada. Anekantavad can be roughly translated as theory of manyness of reality. So there are many different versions of reality. It is the Jain metaphysical theory which says that there are innumerable number of material and spiritual realities in this world. All these realities have infinite number of properties which can be described positively and negatively. So Anekantavad basically defines that in the same reality there are different versions of it, and it can have the positive elements as well as the negative attributes to it. The positive and the negative attribute coalesce to form different versions of the reality. So they coalesce in different compositions, proportions, and thereby different versions of reality are created. For example, a board can be described positively as having white color and rectangular shape. Also, at the same time, it can be described negatively as lacking circular shape and black color. So everything has a positive and a negative aspect. This can be very much defined and clarified with the statement of upad upad vyaya tharuvyam samyuktam sat. What they mean by this statement is that the origin and the decay lie in the same component, and the actual or the true reality is a combination of the origin and decay of a substance. So, upad means origin, dvaya means decay, dharuvya means permanent, samyuktam defines the combination, and sat is reality. What we could infer from the Anekantavad metaphysical theory of Jains is that both change and permanence are an attribute of an object, and in this way, the epistemological and metaphysical realism can be established in the Jaina philosophy. In terms of like in layman terms, we can say that there is both good and bad, yin and yang to the same coin, and these are just two faces or two facets of the similar coin, of a same coin. These are just two facets of a coin. So they give the theory of Syadvad in order to define Anekantavad in more elaborative terms. Syadvad is the epistemological expression of the Jain metaphysical theory of Anekantavad. Since there are infinite number of realities with each having infinite number of characteristics, it becomes logically impossible for an ordinary being to know all aspects of the reality, since the ordinary beings like us are limited by our sense organs and our abilities. We all we could experience or all we could perceive is very limited, and we cannot know everything. Everything is not known to us. Therefore, Anikantavad and particularly Syadvada in it says that there are infinite number of realities, and within each we have infinite number of characteristics. So it becomes logically impossible for an ordinary being to know all the aspects of reality. Practically, a normal human being can only know some of the aspects of some of the realities. In other words, an ordinary being can have access to only partial knowledge. Only an omniscient being can have access to the complete and absolute truth. So, only somebody who has vision beyond the normal human capabilities, who can be termed as an omniscient being, can have access to complete and absolute truth. If an ordinary individual makes a judgment about something by mistaking partial truth as the complete and absolute truth, it is called Dutniti or a bad judgment. because obviously they have said in the previous paragraph that we are obviously limited by our limited knowledge and our limited perceptions. So if we try to validate our judgment as something which is absolute and complete with our partial knowledge, then it is termed as dutniti, or a bad judgment. If judgment is made without stating whether it is relative or absolute, it is a naya. For naya to become a praman or valid judgment, it must be prefixed by syad. So they are also giving a solution or a counter to it, that if we are trying to make a partial statement, so it should be prefixed by the word syad with it, which would refer it to as something which is a partial truth, and it is not a complete or absolute reality or absolute truth about the reality. While understanding the essence of Jain philosophy, one can say that Syad can be roughly translated as from this frame of reference relatively at this point in space and time, etc. This is nothing but acceptance of one's own inability to know the absolute truth, and recognizing the fact that the same reality can be understood in different ways from different perspectives. So, Jain philosophy can be said to be more accommodative in the sense that it is trying to get rid of the ego or the attitude which we have, that we are the only ones who know something as the absolute reality or the absolute truth, and whatever knowledge we possess is the one which is complete, and the other's perspective is just disregarded. However, if we try to prefix our judgments or our statements with the word syad, and this will become a more relative statement and will be more valid in the approach that it is from our point of view. It is not like imposing our point of view as something which is paramount. So, Jain philosophy is accepting that one's own inability is there in recognizing the absolute truth, and in same way, the same reality can be understood in different ways from different perspectives. So, different individuals can have different perspectives, and recognizing the inability in this sphere, we could say that using the word syad as a prefix to all the statements could solve this problem of the inability of human judgments, and this would make our statements more clear and more focused and valid. So they have explained this with the example of blind men and elephant. Jains make use of the parable of six blind men and elephant to substantiate their points. So they have also given an example, a practical example, in order to substantiate their argument for Anekantavada and Syad. The blind men attempt to describe elephants by touching different parts of body like trunk, ears, body, legs, etc., and quarrel among themselves by saying that it is like a wall, it is like a fan, it is like a pillar, etc. So the six blind men who have been given a task to judge what is the object which they are touching. So we are a third person perspective. We have the third person perspective, and what we could see is that there is an elephant, but since the six people who have been given this task, they are blind, so they don't know that it's an elephant, so they can just figure out what is something by touching it. So these are placed in six different positions. So the one who is near to the trunk, one who is near to the body part, one is near to the body, one is near to the ears. So in different body parts, they would judge accordingly. So some would say that it is like a wall. It touches. He would touch it and say that it is like a wall. So it's a wall. Some would say like it's a fan. Some would say like it's a pillar. The person who is touching the legs would say it's a pillar. But all of them are wrong, right? As a third person who is actually seeing the whole scenario, we see that all of them are wrong because it's actually an elephant. Like, first of all, they don't have the vision to see it, so they are making judgments based on their sensation of touch. They forget their inability to perceive with eyes and attempt to assert their viewpoints as absolutely correct. So this is what the human mind is. This is what our human behavior is. We try to assert our own point of view, and we term it as paramount, like this is the thing which I consider as true, so it must be true. But we forget that there are many inabilities within us, that we cannot perceive everything. We don't possess the knowledge of the whole world, we don't know the whole truth, and whatever we are saying is just a partial truth, it's just a partial uh, reality. It is not something which is the universal truth. We forget our own inabilities. So, in that sense, a person who has the sense of vision can understand that all of them are true in their relative sense, but not in the absolute sense. Had they prefixed their judgment with Syad, or from this perspective, the quarrel could have been avoided. So they were quarreling among themselves, like that this is a wall, no, you're wrong, this is a pillar, no, you're wrong, this is a fan. But this quarrel could have been uh, like avoided if they would accept that they have inabilities of vision, and uh, if they would have just prefixed their statements with Syad, uh, it would be more accommodative of other person's perspective and other person's point of view. So the blind men symbolize ordinary beings who can know only partial truths. An elephant is a representation of absolute truth. One can equate the person with vision as the omniscient one. So this proves, or this kind of establishes the theory of Syadvad within Anekantavada, and the six blind men can be symbolized as the ordinary living beings like us who only know the partial truths, and the elephant is a representation of the absolute truth, and the person who could see, like the third person perspective, who could see and judge the whole scenario and knows the absolute reality of it, is the omniscient being. He transcends us all. Similarly, there's a concept of Saptabhaganya in Syadvad. Ordinary logic accepts only two types of judgment: affirmative and negative. Jain logic accepts seven different kinds of judgment, including affirmative and negative ones. As an outcome of Anekantavad, Jain prefixes all the seven possible judgments with Syad to emphasize on conditional or relative character of knowledge. So the knowledge which we possess is conditional and relative. So thereby, like on similar lines of the philosophy of Anekantavad, they prefix all such statements with the word Syad. The seven possible judgments are: first, somehow S is P, therefore affirmative, and which is termed as Syad Asti. Syad Asti. For example, somehow the judge exists in the room at the same time at the time of the judgment. So the existence of the judge is there. So thereby it is an affirmative statement. So it would be called as Syad Asti. So from my point of view, in, from my judgment time, the judge exists. Therefore, it is an affirmative statement, and I would term it as Syad Asti. Similarly, the judge is not black in color at my time of judgment. Therefore, uh, it would be a negative statement, and it can be called as Syad Nasti. The third one is somehow S is and also is not P. Therefore, here Jainas try to combine affirmative and negative judgments about the same object from different viewpoints. For example, somehow the judge exists in the room and is not black in color. So, in this statement, there are both affirmative and negative connotations of the same object. Therefore, this could be termed as Syad Asti Nasti. So, the word or the prefix Syad has to come before our judgments in order to give them more substantiation, in order to give them more weight as to these are the partial truths, and they have certain sense, and they are a part of absolute reality from a point of view, from a frame of reference. Here, from two perspectives, existence and color, we try to judge a similar, or we try to judge the same object. We're talking about two different attributes of the same object in Syad, Asti, and Nasti. The fourth is something somehow S is indescribable. It is an admission that incompatible attributes cannot be ascribed upon same object at the same time. For example, a judge is black. A jar is black when raw and red when baked. So when the jar is raw, it is of black color, but when it gets baked, it gets a reddish color. If somebody asks what is the real color of the jar, one can never say that it is red or black because the color keeps on changing depending upon if it's a raw jug or if it's a baked one. So one can never say it is red and black at the same time. It is best to say it is indescribable since color of a jar is different in different context. So this could be termed as Syad Avyaktam. Avyak is something which is indescribable. Here, from one perspective, that is color, two views can be given, like from one point of view or at a point of time or at a frame of reference, the color of jar is black when it is raw and it is red when it gets baked up. So, we cannot truly define what is the real or what is the actual color of the jar. So, we would say that it's Syad Avyaktam. By combining successfully each of the first three standpoints, which are Syad Asti, Syad Nasti, Syad Asti Nasti, with the fourth one is Syad Avyaktam. Rest of the three elements of Saptabhagi Nyaya are obtained. So there are seven, basically there are seven judgments in the in the Jaina philosophy. So when we combine the first three of the statements of Saptaganya with the fourth one, which is Yad Avyaktam, we get the other three statements. The fifth one is somehow S is P and is also indescribable. So it would be termed as Syad Asti Avyaktam. Similarly, for the sixth statement, somehow S is not P and is also indescribable. So it will be Syad Nasti Avyaktam. The seventh and the last one is somehow S is and also is not P and is indescribable. So it has an affirmative, it has a negative, and it has an indescribable element in it. So it would be called Syad Asti Nasti Avyaktam. So in this video, we have come into the conclusion that Jaina's metaphysics is of describing reality into the manyness of it. Like there are different versions of the reality, and they term it as Anekantavad. For Anekantavad, they try to substantiate it with an argument of Syadvad that our uh, perceptions or our knowledge as an ordinary human being are very limited and we cannot see it all, we cannot judge the whole situation, and it is the omniscient being who could actually know the whole or absolute truth. So, in order to be more truthful to our judgments or to our statements, we should always use the word prefix, or we should always prefix the word syad over our statements so that we recognize our own incapabilities and we also accommodate different perspectives of the similar situation. They also have seven different arguments or seven different connotations of the same judgment. Like previously, we had only affirmative and negative, but in the Jaina philosophy, there are seven different judgments, and it is a combination of the affirmative, negative with syad, and also the indescribable. So with this, we have come to an end to our video, and in the next video, we would learn about the criticisms of Anekantavad and Syadvad and get deeper into the Jain philosophy. Till then, see ya. Bye.